So, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Hope you all are doing amazing. My name is Affan Tariq, and I'm a graffiti artist by profession. I've been doing this for the past 5 years now, and it's been an amazing journey. So, today we're going to talk about tags and territories, the city as a medium. So, I think why it's so important to know where you're from, to know where you belong, to know your roots, because that is how we majorly identify ourselves, right? We are Pakistanis, you guys are from Lahore, I'm from Karachi. And that is, I think, no matter how much we dislike the situation we're in, the city we're in, the country we're in, the halat, but I think it's really important to know where you're from and to know the good and to know the bad, so that way you can create an impact. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So my journey as a graffiti artist started in 2016. So this was when I was, I think, 14, 15 years old. That's when I made my first graffiti piece using a spray can in an abandoned school. So looking like a freaking baby and trying to look cool on Snapchat, that was what I was trying to do back then. But that opened a gateway to exploring the world, the city, and like totally shifting my perspective in a completely different way. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is dialogue with the city. So you guys are from Lahore and I'm from Karachi. We associate ourselves with like different things, right? What do you guys associate yourselves with as Lahoreans or like people from Lahore? Like, I want random words, random things. Biryani without aloo. Like, not even good biryani, man. Like, average biryani, I think. Uske alawa kya? Like, places, things, whatever. The roads and Karachi se bahut behtar hai, bro. Matlab, I think it's a privilege. Jitne अच्छे इधर मजे के roads हैं. But I think what I look at, how I look at Lahore is like Badshahi Mosque, the first thing that comes to my mind. Old Lahore, the history, the culture. What? Androon Lahore, yeah. Androon Lahore, yeah. So things that come up in our mind when we think of a city, that is really important. And these things are from like the top of your head. What we're going to talk about today is like going a bit more in depth and how we can use that in our work. So my dialogue with this city started back in 2018 when I moved to Karachi, and I lived my whole life in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. So when I moved to Karachi, I viewed the city in a very different way. Udhar ke halat aur idhar ke halat completely different the. The people, the language, everything was completely different. And I was trying to explore that. And one way I was doing that was I tried to make my first graffiti piece. So making this graffiti piece in Karachi was actually really fun. People were interested. Log aake bol rahe the ki you guys are doing an amazing job. And it started off as a really fun dialogue, right? मैं अपने शहर से बात कर रहा हूँ, interact कर रहा हूँ. It was really fun. But dialogues with the city don't always go great. So my relationship with Karachi is a very love-hate relationship, and there are a lot of emotions involved. I think with everyone, and with like us, alhamdulillah, being privileged and literate, we know what the bad things are in Pakistan, right? Even in Lahore, even in any city in Pakistan. So I think everyone has a love-hate relationship with the place they're in right now. So that love that started out right here turned into hate pretty quick when my first graffiti piece in Karachi got destroyed. So I couldn't even complete my first graffiti piece in a very dirty spot where I think my graffiti would not have disturbed anyone at all. But the graffiti piece got stopped midway, it got destroyed, and that love turned into hate pretty quick. But the dialogue was still happening, right? When you give something to the city, you get something back, right? So it's mostly love for me, alhamdulillah, but sometimes it's not always positive. So the topic is called tags and territories. So tags, and how I define tags is like leaving your mark, right? Most of you probably do that on like Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever, right? You want to be out there, you want to be seen in whatever way possible. You want as many eyes on you as possible. So my way of doing that was grabbing a spray can, going around the city and just tagging my name everywhere, right? I used to go and pick a random spot and just write my name so people could recognize one day that, oh, I've seen this mark before. I've seen this person making his signature on a wall randomly somewhere in Karachi. So that was my way of being seen in the city. So we kind of all do that, but this was my specific way, and this was my way of expressing. So Karachi in my work is very dominantly there, and I love that it's there because I think, like, as an artist, as a creative, I think Karachi and like even Pakistan is an amazing place to be in. It's pretty controversial that I say that, but the amount of content that we get here, right? The amount of stories that we get to hear, good or bad. Like, जैसे मैं अपने काम के बारे में सबसे ज़्यादा जब इंस्पायर होता हूँ, जब मैं रैंडमली अपने दोस्तों के साथ रात के 12 बजे के बाद चाय पे बैठा हूँ और जो आस-पास जो मुझे कहानियाँ सुनने को मिलती हैं, that is really 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 fun. मतलब हम लोग चुप हो जाते हैं और हम लोग बाकी टेबल्स को सुन रहे होते हैं. तो the stories we get to hear are really really inspiring to make my work fun, to make my work actually creative. And the reason we should all listen, observe, and think about our positionality is because that's how we are authentic, right? We're not someone from New York making illustrations, right? We're not. So the most honest way to do your work is to know where you're from, to know where you belong, and use that in your work. So I started working in a way that जो मेरा काम था, it was like, you've all heard about like steal like an artist, right? तो जो graffiti के मैं सारे काम देखता था on the internet were from artists from all over the world, right? So I tried working in their style, learning from them, but eventually I had to differentiate myself कि मैं उन लोगों से अलग कैसे हूँ, क्योंकि उन लोगों के स्टाइल में सबसे अच्छा काम वो खुद करते हैं, right? तो उनसे बेहतर तो उनके स्टाइल में तो मैं हो नहीं सकता, right? The way to be the best was to find my own style, find my own place and positionality in this very saturated world, right? So I started incorporating Karachi in my work in a very fun way, where the things that we talked about, the things that we used to see in Karachi, तो एक आप लोगों ने शायद लफ्ज़ सुना हो कराची के बारे में, वो बोलते हैं शपाटर बॉयज़, राइट? तो शपाटर बॉयज़ की क्या पर्सनालिटी होती है, राइट? कि वो एक CD70 चलाते हैं, वो लोग रंग बिरंगे होते हैं, and that is really beautiful, right? They wear the colors we would never wear, and they position themselves in a way that they also want to be seen, right? कोई पिंक कलर के शलवार कमीज इसलिए पहनेगा कि यार लोग उसको देखें और बोलें यार कि ये कुछ तो लग रहा है, right? And I think they're also like better than us in a lot of ways because they don't give a shit कि लोग क्या बोलेंगे और हम कैसे लग रहे हैं. वो खुद अपने आप को अच्छा फील कर रहे हैं, so then they're happy with that. So this was a project for Fanta. So Fanta launched a campaign called Rangful, जिसके अंदर they had Hassan Rahim sing a song for them and all of that. So they hired me to make a graffiti piece in Karachi for them. So Rangful for like Fanta and Hassan Rahim is completely different. He's a doctor, he's a really really privileged guy, and like हम लोग हसन रहीम को सुनते हैं, right? We listen to Hassan Rahim, Spoke Studio, Spotify, whatever, say. जो कराची में 99% अवाम है, they don't even know what Spotify is. They don't even know who Hassan Rahim is. So when we're working, we need to be grounded in the sense कि यार हमारा काम किस audience के लिए, right? If you're working for Hassan Rahim's audience on like the internet, then you can show Rangful in our own privileged way, right? लेकिन जब मैं काम बना रहा हूँ कराची के शहर में सड़कों में, and ये काम हमारी प्रिविलेज क्लास से ज़्यादा जो 99% अवाम है उसने देखा है काम, राइट? तो उनको कैसे इंटरेस्टिंग लगेगा, राइट? तो टू मेक इट इंटरेस्टिंग फॉर देम आई मेड इट in a way that they can relate to the work, right? And like the requirements with like projects and like commercial projects is कि यार रंगफुल एक like English और उर्दू के word का mixture है, right? But I had to write it in English. I would have loved to written it in Urdu ताकि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोग पढ़ पाएं, right? So I had to write it in English, but the illustration I think speaks a lot about the work, right? It makes it interesting, it makes it fun. और वो एक road के सामने भी है, and trying to make the work interact with the environment, right? The bike is a bit larger than real life, but when you look at it from a distance, it actually looks like एक बंदा wheelie मारते हुए जा रहा है. सही है, colorful सी bike है, green color का शलवार कमीज पहना हुआ है उसने, and he's kind of touching the floor, doing stunts. So that is how you need to be grounded and know where you're from and use that in your work, right? So another project that I did, so this was a really experimental project. So my work is public art, right? It's meant for the public, it's meant for the larger city, and I love that because I don't want to just make art for privileged people who have phones first of all, then have internet, and then have Instagram, then they can see my work, right? I think we create so many barriers for the people here that we blame people कि यार वो हमें पे नहीं करते, वो आर्ट को नहीं समझते पाकिस्तान में, but we can't blame anyone because we're privileged. We got to study, we got education, we know English, we know technology, but they don't, right? So we have to make them understand, make things interesting for them. So I made, so during like the last elections, I was trying to like understand the whole situation, right? So, and it was completely chaotic, like completely fucked. Because we were getting fucked first of all, and then our cities were getting fucked. So my take on that was कि अगर हम तीन भाई, Ajeeb, me and Farzan, if we had a party called Ajeeb Si Party, right? And would people actually believe it? Would people actually be interested? And like if you put ourselves on the pedestal that politicians put themselves on, would people actually be interested and intrigued कि क्या हो रहा है? And I made this whole Panaflex, and this is not designed by me. This is designed by जो printer shops में जो designers बैठे हुए होते हैं, right? तो मैंने उनको पिक्चर्स दी, मैंने बोला आप डिज़ाइन करो जैसे आप करते हो. सो दे मेक दीज पॉलिटिकल पोस्टर्स फॉर ऑल ऑफ दीज पार्टीज, राइट? तो उन्होंने फिर मेरे लिए एक बनाया. तो वी पुट दिस अप ऑन अ वॉल इन सदर. सदर इज लाइक द मोस्ट पब्लिक प्लेस इन कराची. तो लॉट ऑफ पीपल वर रियली इंटरेस्टेड कि क्या चल रहा है, कौन है ये, सर ये आप हैं, आप खुद अपनी पार्टी का पोस्टर लगाने आए हैं. तो इंटरेस्टिंग रिएक्शंस फ्रॉम इंटरेस्टिंग पीपल एंड just like making people think, giving art to the public, I think is really, really, really important. So resistance. So graffiti as a medium started off as a way of saying what could not be said, and an act of rebellion, right? Going out at night when everyone's sleeping and writing something on walls which the people would see the next day and they don't know who wrote it. That's the way that graffiti started off. So I think resistance and saying what needs to be said in public is really important. We have a huge problem with freedom of speech, right? हम लोग बहुत चीज़ें जो हम लोग नहीं बोल सकते अपने मुल्क में. So I think I kind of break that barrier using graffiti. So my way of resistance is going out in Karachi, probably like right after Fajr when everyone's sleeping and I get some daylight and I quickly make a graffiti piece. So a piece that I made, oh yeah, sorry, I forgot I had this slide, yeah. So like resistance in a city where our whole country is burning down and we still need to stand out, we still need to earn money, we need to become designers, artists, and all of that. In that space is pretty difficult, right? So the way Karachi is also famous, like at one point was like target killings. At like right now, it's like mobile snatching, right? That happened to me a while back. That happened to like my brother. Abhi kuch din pehle, right? So that's the reason we're famous. So I think working in a city like that, it's really important to resist and to stand out and to actually fight in a way that is possible for you. It's possible for everyone in a very different way. For me, I used to go out and I used to make graffiti pieces and trying to like make an impact, right? This is a piece that I made for Palestine, and this was a fundraiser basically. So I made this piece in a very public place in Karachi, and it was really fun to paint, and I was like actually trying to do a good thing. So with this piece, I made posters out of this. I photographed the piece, made posters, and sold the posters. And alhamdulillah, we gathered like 40,000 in like a week. And we donated that to a fundraiser for Palestine. So that was my way of resisting at a time where Pakistan and the government didn't say anything and didn't make any statement about the situation there. So another piece that I made, this was a really fun piece. It was right when the COVID-19 started, and everyone was really confused about what to do, wear masks, use sanitizers. The whole situation was just like really, really confusing. So I made this piece in Karachi talking about the coronavirus. And I think everyone, of course, knew about the virus, but that was my way of kind of telling people, oh, it's present, and like kind of using corona and the virus like in a way to make art. So privilege. I talked about privileged for a bit, but I think privilege is really, really, really important to know where you stand, right? To know your place and to use that for good. So, alhamdulillah, like me, my brothers, my family, we come from a privileged family. We're not rich, but we try to know that alhamdulillah we got education, we got to study, we have a roof over our heads, we get food every day, alhamdulillah. But a lot of people don't have that even, right? So knowing that we got the opportunity but other people didn't, so we gotta do some good in this world, right? We all have the power of creativity, of like thinking differently, of being here in this place, in this room right now. So I think one takeaway everyone should take from this would be that we are privileged. Like know that and tell yourself that. When you tell yourself that, that is when the next step is to use that privilege for good. And another very important thing is bakchodi. Do you guys say that in Lahore? Nice, good. तो मैं भी बहुत बोलता हूँ कि यार bakchodi is really important. Anything and everything that you do, you need to enjoy. The reason I wake up at like 4 or 5 in the morning, go out with a friend to like film a video and like create a random video, even like spending my own money. शुरू में तो होता था पैसे तो मैं कोई नहीं कमाता था, right? तो मैं स्प्रे कैंस भी खुद खरीद रहा हूँ, मैं बाहर भी जा रहा हूँ, सुबह भी उठ रहा हूँ और मैं जाके कोई ग्राफिटी पीस पेंट कर रहा हूँ, only because of the fact कि it's bakchodi for me, it's fun for me, it's like I feel empowered while I use a spray can in an open street, right? I enjoy the danger of it. I enjoy कि शायद मेरा फोन छीन सकता है, शायद पुलिस आ सकती है, शायद कुछ भी हो सकता है, right? But the bakchodi, the adrenaline rush, that is the best part of doing graffiti for me. And I think all of you need to find that element of bakchodi in your work where it's easy for you to wake up in the morning and start doing what you love, right? So it's not always fun, but you need to find that balance and trying to know what things you enjoy and what things you do for money, right? So that balance is really important. And I think the slides end here. Thank you for listening. If you guys have like any questions, anything about work, graffiti, Karachi, projects, money, anything. You guys can go ahead. No questions, man. You have a question, yeah. No, Alhamdulillah, I never had to like work a job. So the graffiti thing started off शौक से कि मैं randomly जाता था paint करता था and I just used to post on Instagram. मतलब ऐसे होता था कि मैं और अरीब सुबह उठते थे 4 बजे, हम लोग निकलते थे, कोई दीवार ढूंढते थे, पेंट करते थे, शाम को अरीब एडिट करता था, रात को मैं पोस्ट कर देता था. It was a very simple process. ऐसे ही देखते देखते a friend of ours said कि मुझे अपने रूम में ग्राफिटी बनवानी है. He paid me like 10,000 rupees. उसके अंदर से मेरा सामान के बाद कुछ ज़्यादा बचा भी नहीं. But when one client came along, the next came along, the next came along. But now, alhamdulillah, this is like my full-time thing. I work with a lot of like corporate clients from like Coca-Cola to Spotify to Coke Studio. So all of these people are like my clients, and that is how I earn. Yes. Any other questions?
Are there any specific cultural nuances which you kind of find interesting in graffiti ke saath jaate, like experimenting with probably font types in graffiti or something which you would want to do differently? Because the art is very nice, but there is stronger cultural context that you can bring with. जैसे वो आपने कल्चर वाली एग्जांपल दी, but उसके अलावा like Urdu font type है या कुछ और चीजें ऐसी हैं जो बहुत याद है, build a stronger connection with the community.
Yeah, I think it's Urdu type, honestly. Language is very, very important in like everyone's work, I think. So of course, you have your visual, but you also need to tell people, right? Write about it, post a caption. I love to work with Urdu, but usually like I don't get the opportunity because पहले मैं अपना like personal like it's with I think with every like creative के शुरू में आप अपना personal काम बहुत बनाते हो, जो आपको दिल कर रहा है, ये inspire हो गया, बना दिया. फिर eventually when you start earning and when you start getting clients, तो आपका personal काम decline होता रहता है, right? तो मेरे साथ भी of course ये हुआ. I'm really bad at managing my time. तो इसलिए like with like corporate projects and with like all of these clients, they usually don't want like Urdu type. So like with my personal work, I try to like experiment with Urdu type a lot, and it's fun. I love doing Urdu typography, and I enjoy it a lot also. So this is the Rangers stopping by वो Corona वाला piece, and they stop their car. They always ask me questions कि आप किसके लिए काम कर रहे हैं, क्या कर रहे हैं, and I've gotten close to getting arrested. So it's like part of the process. It's part of the fun, honestly. You have to explain to them what you're doing, and I think the situation that we're in, like Karachi में, the situation is even like worse than Lahore, of course, right? हालात के मुताबिक. So people don't honestly care. People don't care कि आप क्या कर रहे हैं, क्यों कर रहे हैं, right? Because in Karachi, everyone has a lot of shit going on. सब इतनी टेंशन में कि वो आपकी टेंशन नहीं लेंगे. So neither does the police care that much, neither does the kind of like the awam care. So ये एक और graffiti piece था जो हम कर रहे थे, उसके अंदर the police usually just passes by, looks at it, asks a few questions, and then they leave. So that is how shit happens in Karachi.
But it's also when you
Yeah. I did. I was doing like a piece for Aurat March in like I think 2020 or something. I think like 2019. So that got really bad. तो उस टाइम पे they were like कि यार ये आप किसके लिए काम कर रहे हैं, मतलब ये वो फटा बन गया, लोग जमा हो गए, पुलिस की मोबाइल आ गई, फरजान पुलिस की मोबाइल में बैठा हुआ है. एक दोस्त को मैंने बोला छुप के वीडियोस बनाओ एटलीस्ट कि यार हम ये डॉक्यूमेंट कर सकें. तो it's about like how controversial you can be. Like me personally at this moment, the amount of responsibilities that I have, मैं इतना risk नहीं ले सकता. Like मैं army के खिलाफ नहीं बोलूँगा कुछ अभी, मैं governing bodies के खिलाफ अभी directly कुछ नहीं बोलूँगा. Even though I would love to create more art like that, but it's about how much risk you can take. सबकी अलग capacity है और मेरी अभी इतनी capacity नहीं. मुझे अभी कुछ time enjoy करना है, जिंदा रहना है. तो ये. So, any other questions? Yeah.
How do you choose the city as a landscape?
Yeah.
Paying for the walls.
Yeah.
As a medium
Yeah.
space. How
True.
do you choose the best possible areas for one particular project or art? Like Fanta के वो क्या best था?
Yeah. The way I choose. Yeah. The way I choose walls is the first thing is visibility, right? Of course, I want to be seen. अगर मैं मेहनत कर रहा हूँ, मैं चाहता हूँ कि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोग देखें. I even like write my Instagram काम के नीचे ताकि लोग जाते हुए देखें और they find me on Instagram, of course. लेकिन सबसे पहली चीज़ होती है visibility कि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोग देख सकें. दूसरी चीज़ होती है कि I try to find like not a clean place first of all, right? थोड़ी सी गंदी जगह हो, उससे पता चलता है कि nobody cares about that place. Yeah. और दूसरी चीज़ ये कि no private properties at all. Like I don't want to disturb anyone at all. तो private property ज़्यादातर जो मैं जगहों पे काम, they're like public walls and no one cares about public walls के साफ भी नहीं रहती वो. तो फिर अगर मैं उसके ऊपर काम कर रहा हूँ तो I think it's not that bad. So अगर लोग तंग भी होते हैं तो it's okay. मतलब if you can't make everyone happy, right? So that is my way of justifying it.
I think it's pretty interesting that you turned a public space into something that works for you commercially as well. You kind of, like it's an extension of marketing.
Yeah.
So that and it's pretty interesting that you turn what you like into a space that people wouldn't normally conceive of.
Yeah. If you talk about like advertising and like billboard spaces and like public art and public advertising, that is really expensive, right? Like for example, I did a project for like Easy Paisa, jahan the wall space, the billboard space for like 30 days is like 25 lakh plus, like 25 lakhs. मुझे 25 lakhs नहीं मिले थे काम करने के, मुझे कम थे थोड़े, मतलब खैर छोड़े. So advertising space is really expensive, right? And I think it's a really good niche for me to be in right now, jahan public advertising is really expensive. So a lot of these brands hire me because it doesn't take money. Of course I charge for like finding a space and all of that, but it's not like 25 lakhs, of course. So a problem with like these brands is ke they want of course like a reel out of it, like pictures out of it and all of that, and at one point they say कि आप हमारा brand का नाम मत लिखना कहीं because we don't want to get a lawsuit from the government, right? So of course it's like in their color scheme and it's associated with the brand, and like the people who know will understand कि for example it's from Fanta but they don't want their brand name to be there. But I think it's a really nice space, and I think that is why we need graffiti artists. Like nobody would have thought, मुझे भी नहीं पता था कि यार I would be earning and like alhamdulillah being comfortable while like doing graffiti, and मैं travel कर रहा हूँ, मैं ये कर रहा हूँ, I'm giving a talk on graffiti in Karachi. Nobody would have thought of that. लेकिन I think we need more graffiti artists for the resistance, for the city, and even like to earn good money, और हम इन brands से ना पैसा निकालें ठीक ठाक. So I think that is important.
I was just thinking about what you just said, and I could be wrong here, but isn't the main goal of marketing is to attract people who don't know about your brand? तो अगर आप graffiti के अंदर अपने brand का नाम ही associate नहीं करते हैं, तो चले जिन्हें पता है उन्हें तो पता लग जाएगा, but जिन्हें नहीं पता, how can they create that association?
I think that association comes with they seeing the logo or the brand somewhere else, right? For example, if they've seen the Fanta रंगफुल piece, सही है, और फिर वो random इंसान YouTube पे जाता है तो Fanta रंगफुल का ad आता है फिर, right? In the same colors and Hassan Rahim singing Fanta रंगफुल, सही है, तो फिर वो associate कर पाएंगे, right? So I think it's really important for like marketing and like branding not to like put your name everywhere, right? Let people think, let people associate it with different things, and then eventually the customer does come by. So yeah. Any other question? Ji.
Have you ever considered doing graffiti on the floors?
Graffiti on the floors, on the side? No, I haven't gotten the opportunity to. I think it doesn't. Like the way of thinking is that it wouldn't last too long, right? So इसलिए it's not worth कि मैं इतनी effort करूँ, right? The walls work really well क्योंकि like the way we look at walls, the way we move through a city, say we're constantly looking. We're not looking down, we're looking at our eye level, right? So that is where I try to put my work. So yeah. Yeah, I think not being too attached to your work is also really important, na? कि मतलब, for example, like even if you're not a graffiti artist, whatever kind of artist you are, the work you make is like just one work and you move on to the next, right? Being too attached and like working on one thing for like years and years and years, of course that can also be a way of working, right? But you need to move on, you need to go on to the next thing and not being too attached to your work. Like working with the city, working with public art, and working with random people, that actually, like the way I think about that is कि यार you give your work to the city. आपने शहर को अपना काम दे दिया, सही है. अब उनकी मर्जी वो क्या करें. You can't blame them. I don't blame the person for kind of ruining the graffiti piece. उसको नहीं समझ आया काम, सही. मैंने तो शहर को काम दे दिया, सही है. तो वहाँ वही बात आ जाती है. यू नीड टू बी ग्राउंडेड एंड यू नीड टू नो योर प्रिविलेज. यार वो आपकी दीवार, वो मेरी दीवार थी नहीं, तो मैं क्यों किसी को ब्लेम करूँ या कुछ सोचूं. एंड आई थिंक दैट इज ऑल्सो रियली like makes my work good in a way कि यार मैंने एक काम बना दिया ना, तो मुझे नहीं पता वो कल होगा, परसों होगा, नहीं होगा, कब तक होगा, उसकी कितनी लाइफ है, राइट? तो इसीलिए फिर मैं नेक्स्ट बना लेता हूँ काम, फिर मैं नेक्स्ट बना लेता हूँ. तो इसीलिए द वर्क कीप्स गोइंग ऑन. तो ये हाँ, इंस्टाग्राम पे रहता है, राइट? डॉक्यूमेंटेशन, आई थिंक, हाँ, डॉक्यूमेंटेशन इज रियली इंपॉर्टेंट. अब लाइक फॉर एग्जाम्पल लाइक this clip, this like screenshot from the video is from 2018. So I have all of my work documented, and every documentation is important. You never know when you would need it, and eventually inshallah when like you guys are giving a talk one day, तो फिर सारा काम आता है कि आप निकाल के ना presentation में डाल दो. तो मैंने यही किया है आज. Anything else or yes? No, we don't get any special spray paints in Pakistan. तो जो spray cans जो बाहर सारे graffiti artists use करते हैं, that can is for like 4,000 rupees. एक can, right? No one's gonna pay for that. Even I can't afford that. So I use this normal hardware store cans, right? The possibilities of these mediums are endless. All of the work that I've done, I think so. Like for example, either I think ज़्यादा काम है नहीं इधर, but all of the work that I've done is with like these hardware store spray cans, and that tells, I think, like everyone के वो medium की capacity बहुत है, right? We don't need all of these expensive things to make good stuff. Even like ये 300 रुपए का spray can is enough. So yeah. Anything else? Are we done? Yes. जी. जी. ऑनेस्टली बताऊं, मैंने वो जो डॉक्यूमेंट किया था ना, और ये वाले सारे वीडियोस, स्क्रीनशॉट्स, ये सब ना, ये मैंने डाल दिया इंस्टाग्राम पे, राइट? और मैं इतना इमोशनल इंसान नहीं हूँ कि मैं सोचूं कि यार ये ख़त्म हो गया, ये वो सही है। मैंने बोला कि चलो गुड यार, इससे मज़े का कंटेंट आ गया वो, अब ना इंस्टाग्राम पे पोस्ट डालेंगे। और फिर मैंने पोस्ट डाला इंस्टाग्राम पे, तो दिस इज वन ऑफ द फर्स्ट पोस्ट मेरे इंस्टाग्राम पे। और उसके ऊपर लोग शुरू हो गए, वो वी विल स्टैंड अप फॉर यू। और मैं बोलता भाई मैं भी नहीं खड़ा हो रहा ब्रो, तुम क्यों खड़े हो रहे हो? और उसके बाद बोले कि यार द इनजस्टिस इन पाकिस्तान, हम इसको बताएंगे, और ये वो। मैं तो खुद भी इतना नहीं सोच रहा था, मैंने बोला चलो खैर है, हो गया ख़त्म। लेकिन वो जो सारी ऑडियंस आई ना, तो मैं बोलता हूँ कि अब अगर मेरा काम ख़राब हो भी जाता है ना, तो खैर हो गई, कोई मसला नहीं है। उससे एक अच्छी बस डॉक्यूमेंट होना चाहिए ज़रूरी, उससे अच्छी सी इंस्टाग्राम पोस्ट आएगी। और लोग सिंपैथी इतनी देते हैं, उफ, क्या कुछ चाहिए भी नहीं होती है, लोग सिंपैथी देते हैं। एंड दैट वर्क्स वेल। लाइक जैसे आई डोंट नो इफ यू गाइस नो अबाउट लाइक बैंक्सी का आपको पता होगा, राइट? बैंक्सी का जो सबसे एक्सपेंसिव पीस है वो है जो उसने खुद डिस्ट्रॉय कर दिया था, राइट? तो आई थिंक डिस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ वर्क really gets like eyes on your work, and it makes people actually like sympathize with your work and makes it controversial also, and controversy always sells. So yeah, anything else? Done. I think I'll get going. Thank you everyone for listening, for the amazing questions.